Ooh, we got people rolling in already.
Yeah.
So you want me to wait for a lot more people to hop in or?
I'm just gonna give it a minute,
Okay,
literally a minute, and then we'll get going.
cool. I see some names here that I know. I see
Awesome.
some,
We love
oh,
that.
I see some folks hopping in here. This is nice.
Yeah.
We're gonna start we're gonna start telling people to oh wait, I don't have chat access by the way for the like universal chat. Like will they chat?
Okay.
It,
Yes, I have
okay, cool.
chat.
Because I got just host and panelists. That's all I got on my end.
Okay.
In case the people have to ask the silliest goose in Amazon space any questions.
There we go. All right, everyone. Hello, thank you for joining us today. My name is Ashley Dunn. I'm the marketing manager for Prospershow, and I would like to welcome you to our live workshop on creative conversions with John Aspinall. John is the brand evangelist from PickFu and the founder and creator of Aspie Creative. He's a creative wizard and on the rise in the e-commerce space with a commitment to educating sellers and overall just a great resource. We're excited for you all to in real time see and learn how to create listings that drive sales. After the webinar, you'll receive the recording and some exclusive tools from John. And with that, we'll get started. John, take it away.
Thank you, Ashley. I am far from a wizard. I will say that, but I do appreciate it. Every time I think when someone says wizard, I automatically think of Harry Potter or no, it's just Harry Potter. Uh, anyway, guys, I see everyone hopping in here. I see some familiar names, some familiar faces. My name is John Aspinall, brand evangelist at Pig Food, the gold standard in consumer insight research. Basically, everything you want to know about your product, know about your brand, know about your competitors in the space, not just e-commerce, but in books, in businesses, and just pretty much everything. And I also founded Aspie Creatives, which is a merchandising strategy consulting design agency for brands. And we currently work with 8, 9 figure brands on Amazon for their creatives, for their hero images, for their brand ads, for all of their creatives, A+ content to make sure that it's getting clicked and the conversion, because you can't have the conversion without the click, right? So it all starts with the click. Famous quote from Abraham Lincoln. If anyone wants to fact check that, it's going to come back false. Abraham Lincoln didn't say that, but I like to say that he said that. So today, what we're going to do is we are going to look at ways that you can take your listing images, your A plus, pretty much any image or for branding or for advertising and optimize it. We'll test it, then optimize it, then test it again. And the reason we want to do this is because you don't want to waste money with something that's not going to sell, that's not going to get clicks, or it's going to get the wrong clicks, because that can happen. If you have I'm going to think of a random item, a bag of potato chips, and you don't make it explicitly clear that they're spicy, for example, from the main hero image, and you're running ads on it, and people like the bag, oh, that's interesting, and they click on it. Then when they land on the page, and like, whoa, wait a minute, this is spicy. I'm out of here. I don't take spicy stuff. Then that's not only a lost sale, but it's wasted ad spend. So what we're going to show is different strategies but more actionable ones, right? So this is not a masterclass on, hey, tell your agency or tell your designers to do this, right? You could if you have that available, but I'm going to show you practical tools such as Canva and Figma, which are like $20 a month. And then in the world of 2025, when everyone's spending tons of money on AI tools, guilty, I pay for every single one because I have FOMO. It's not that much of a cost. And what I'm going to show you today is it's going to recoup itself 100 times over should you ever invest in that paired with PickFu. Cool? Cool. Drop a pizza emoji in the comments because I'm a huge engagement silly goose if you're ready to rock and roll today. If you're not ready to rock and roll, listen, I won't pick on anyone, start calling people's names out, but just drop a pizza emoji if you're ready to rock and roll because There we go. We're going to show some really, really cool. See, there you understand. You understand that I'm from New York City. There is no other pizza like New York City. If you're from Chicago, you may want to leave it now because I don't think Chicago pizza is a real pizza. But anyway, that's another kind of video. So, with that being said, let me share my screen and then we're going to jump into a lot of good stuff. Cool. So, Ashley, I'm going to pick on you since, by the way, guys, I can't see the chat right now because I have my full screen up over here. So, Ashley, I'm going to lean on you if someone is
Mm.
saying something. Wow, that guy's really handsome. What skin cream does he use or anything like that? Just let me know because I can't see, right? But let's go like this. I look at hundreds and hundreds of ASINs every single month. So when someone asks me to pick a product, I'm always like, oh, I can't think. I default to supplements because that's what everyone asks for. But Ashley, I'm going to ask you, give me a random product on Amazon.
How about a sunscreen?
Okay, we're talking about sunscreen. Everyone's going to the beach and everyone needs sunscreen, right? So, the first thing that I like to look at when I'm looking at a client or a brand's assets is the search engine result page, right? Because this is what we just did right now. And I'll go back. What we just did right now is the path or the route that shoppers are taking. So no one goes to Amazon and opens it up and says, all right, Amazon, show me what you got today. What do you got? Everyone comes to Amazon with either I broke this and I need to replace it, or I don't have this, I need to get it, or someone told me about it and I really want to get it. But no one's typically coming to Amazon and just poking around over here and this kind of stuff, right? So the way that they're doing is they're going here, they're searching something, and then they're hit with this, right? So when it comes to CTR and click through rate, the biggest thing that's going to affect is the images, right? But when it comes to click through rate, there's multiple different elements that affect it. It's going to be first the image, then it's going to be, and this is not in any order, but image, it is in that order. Then it's going to be the title, then it's going to be the reviews, whatever you want to call this that Amazon shows, and then the price, and then the coupons or subscribe and save. So now when we take a look at the search engine result page, I'm going to call it SERP, right? So if you hear me say SERP, that's search engine result page, just because that's a lot to say, search engine result page, right? And then by the end of this masterclass, I'm just going to go search engine result page. So I'll just call it SERP. So when we look on the SERP for sunscreen, this is what we're hit with, right? We have a brand ad up here, and then we have some sponsored product ads over here. Interesting thing about it, as you guys know, you're all pros, crushing it on Amazon. We're going to help you crush it a little bit more. Is that in the brand ad, you can typically change like a video or have some creative freedom with putting stuff up here. When it comes to a product ad over here, you're just bumping up what your existing hero image is, right? So you can't really change this based on the ads. It's bringing up what you already have. But when I look at this, of course, we're going to see Amazon, the culprit right here, superseding the sponsored stuff, right? Take that out of the equation because that's a horrible image. But now we're seeing what's being sponsored over here for this phrase and then the organic, right? And then you're going to see a lot of big box brands like the Sunbum, the Neutrogena, the Coppertone, right? When you're testing, if this was in your space, you don't want to test on PickFu against Coppertone. So if you're out there and you're like, hey, I have this really innovative, super natural, super good for you sunscreen, you never want to run a PickFu against Coppertone because people are always going to go with brand names or big brands that they already know just from a knee-jerk reaction. So that's a cool little PickFu tip. But now when I go down here, I'm seeing a lot of different things that someone may want to do with their hero image. And this right here, I call it the smear, just because it's a smear, right? And you can see this in a lot of different categories on Amazon. Most importantly, or most specifically, it is in this company that La Roche-Posay. I don't use it. Well, I use it by proxy because my wife buys it and it's in the shower. But you can see their standard behind every bottle, no matter what they're using, if it's a pump, if it's a cream, if it's a serum, they're putting the physical product behind it. So, like a pool of serum, a smear of cream, a dollop of this. This is the standard or where the standard's moving towards for this kind of thing, because what this is doing is this is taking up more space on the image, number one. Number two, it's more eye catching because it's like, wait, what is that? And number three, it's giving transparency because technically, if you bought, and I'm going to look at this perfect example, if you were to buy this product, you might think that it's white, even though it says tinted sunscreen. But without showing the smear over here of what the product really is, then you're like, oh. And guess what? If this was a sponsored product ad, and if you didn't like that, you wouldn't click on it, right? Because if that wasn't your jam, you're not going to go there. But if that wasn't there and you weren't into that and you clicked on the actual product and then you saw over here, oh, wait, this is like that dark of a tint or whatever it was, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan. Even though they have a non tinted option, you don't want to do that. You want to be super, super clear from the get go. So you could see this a lot in the spaces if you look at like face creams, right? I know we're going to go back to sunscreen in a second, but I just want to show the tactics, right? So you see La Roche over there, but then you're going to see this. Look at Medicube, right? You're going to see a lot of different CeraVe, big, big brand names that are doing it. And I know people are watching this right now and saying, well, John, that's against Amazon's terms of service. I'm going to get my account restricted. I'm not going to be able to pay my mortgage. I'm going to have to fire people and go bankrupt. No. These are part of image guidelines. There's nothing that in terms of service that reflects images that can get your account banned or suspended. The worst thing that can happen if you ever do something like this and Amazon doesn't jam with it is you get an image suppression. That's literally a 120-second fix of just reverting back to the old image or trying something different. So in this, it comes down to risk reward. But understand the category that you play in. If you see a lot of other people doing it, if you see a lot of big brands doing it, it's like if your mom told you, well, if all your other friends said jump over a bridge, are you going to go too? Well, yeah, mom, I'm going to go too. This is you're sarcastically, but this time you would say, yeah, I'm going to do it too because everyone's doing it because these brands understand like look at this one right here. They're doing 80,000 units in the past 30 days. You think Amazon's going to suppress that? No shot. So again, this is a very crowded space for face creams, but I just wanted to give some perspective on that for the smear. So we see the smear. Look at this one with Banana Boat. We see a box over here with a logo that says Banana Boat. Do you think you're really going to get a box that says Banana Boat? No, it is not going to happen, right? So we'll cost Banana Boat some money and I'll click on this and I'll show you because the way that I do this, I go and look at the reviews and I go and see what people are opening packages, right? And yeah, they're not showing the box, but it's not going to be there. And this is the case with a lot of different things. One other good one that I like to show folks is deodorant. I know I'm talking about a lot of like personal hygiene things, but this can be applied to many different things. But look at native right here. Check out this. And I'm going to show you guys later in this live stream how you can build this yourself with 3 shapes in Canva. It's actually crazy how you can do this. But these call outs over here, do you think if you're buying some secret deodorant that it's going to have this wrap around it? No, but they're crushing it. Look at Old Spice. They are crushing it in the space. But if you notice, some have box and some have box with a bottle and a wrap, or some have just bottle and wrap. I'm going to show you how we're going to do that as well. But let's get back to sunscreen. So there's Amazon's with nothing. There's here with the smear. There's here with a box, but we can make this better. We can make this better because what's missing from this image? If I took this image as a standalone, right, copy image address, and I was to just take a look at the image, could I buy based on that? No, I can't. Forget about price. I can't because you're going to make me sit here and count how many bottles are here. What they should be doing is putting 24 pack right on the box. Why? Because the box isn't even coming with it. So it does not matter, right? No one cares. This is a utilitarian product. This is not giftable. Anyone that's giving anyone a 24 pack of sunscreen for a gift, I don't think you're invited to Christmas next year, but to be quite honest with you, I don't want that. So anything that's giftable, you do not want to do these tactics for. So if you're selling anything right now, and when I say giftable, if you're selling anything in the space that is something along the lines of a mom gift box, right? So if you show these kind of boxes over here and then you don't send it, that's going to be a problem because this is a very giftable item. So anything that's giftable, that's showing good packaging or anything like that, don't play in this space, what we're doing right now. You could do some elements of it, but you don't want to overly edit the hero image because that's part of the reason why people are buying this because it's giftable. So coming back over here, this could be done better. We see a 2-pack. We see this. So let's look for an example right now of something that I can apply all these elements to that's not doing decent sales that we can make it better. Because I don't like to take brands that are already crushing it and give them ideas. I like to give folks like everyone else on here that's trying and growing and doing good business and they want to do more business. But you could see there's so many smears. There's so many, but there's a lot of things that are missing here as well. So let's grab, wow. Guys, if you're seeing this right now and you're not in the sunscreen space, geez, I can't find one listing that's doing under 1,000 units in the past 30 days. Let me go to page 3. And let's do this. As a matter of fact, if I don't find one in a second, I'm just going to pick a random one. Let's do vacation because I was just telling Ashley before that my wife is doing this, purchased this product, and I had no idea what it was. And I thought that was really interesting. Actually, let's do Hawaiian Tropic. So let's do this one right here. So everything that we just showed right now is not being reflected in this hero image. I don't see what the product looks like. I don't know what a big value prop is. I don't know if it's scented or anything like that. So what do we want to do? We want to make it better, right? Now, before I make it better, so let's keep this one right here, right? I'll keep this one open over here, but I want to show you in, because I can't show in PickFu. Well, actually I can, I'll show you 2 PickFus. So one is not going to be of the product we're looking at because I want to show it this way. So in PickFu, let's say if you're actually, you know what, this is a better example because they're not crushing it with sales. So let's not do Hawaiian Tropic. Let's do these guys. So this is a 2-pack for 29 bucks. They're not doing huge sales compared to everyone else over here. Now, what I'm about to do, you don't want to do it with if there's a brand name, a big brand name. So this is a big brand name. This is a big brand name. We're going to forget that for right now. What I'm going to show you is just the process here. So what you want to do is grab a screenshot. Now you could take a screenshot of just the items in the title with the pricing over here or anything like that. Now, understand what I'm about to do is going to show you, and let me do it right here, right? So I'll do a little shake of this. That's a cool tool. If you guys want to know what tool that is, let me know in the comments, where you just grab a screenshot, you shake it, you put it over there. It doesn't download to your computer and you can use it. So I'm going to go to PickFu, drop a heart. I'm feeling very sentimental. Drop a heart in the comments if you've ever used a PickFu. Just curious. And this is a PickFu poll builder, right? And what you're going to do is you could do a lot of different things in here. So you could do open-ended, click test, head-to-head, ranked. So head-to-head is like A or B. So if I did, head-to-head, it's this or that. Once I add another option, it changes the poll type because you can't do A, B if you have A, B, C. Then it's a ranked poll. Like which one do you like first, second, third, all that kind of stuff. We're not going to do any of those right now, at least for right now. I'm going to do my favorite test, which is the click test, which I like. And remember this little cool thing that I have over here. I can just drop it right here. Look at that. And it's loading into PickFu. And then I don't need this anymore. It's not on my computer. Fantastic. So now I'm going to poll people and they're going to see as if they're looking at the Amazon real search engine result page. That's why I like this as opposed to pulling out the images by themselves because I want them to get more context. I want to see where they're clicking in a click test. So I'm going to go over here and say, if you were shopping on Amazon for sunscreen, which product would you click on to purchase and why? Please click your choice. By the way, I hate when people type and they're recording or speaking and they like say it out loud as they're doing it. And I just did it. So sorry, folks. And then over here, we have the image. Now you don't want to do 8 clicks because we just want to see the 1 click where people are going to. Now here's where I build out my audience. So I'm gonna do a small audience just for testing, 15 people, usually about 50 to 75 if you're looking for like qualitative, quantitative data. And then I could pick the country. So if I was selling in like Amazon Italy or Amazon Japan, those respondents are going to be much different than the US. So it's super important that you're picking the location where you're selling. Then down here, it's random audience, target, or your own audience. Your own audience is a whole different conversation. Random, this is good if you don't know who your ICP or your avatar is. So if you're just launching or you're looking to get into a space and you're like, hey, I have this really cool idea, would you buy it? You're going to ask random amount of people, and then you're going to look at the data and say, yes, I would, no, I wouldn't, yes, I would, and then see from the yes, I would's, do they have anything in common? Are they mostly women? Are they mostly men? Are they mostly whatever? We're going to do this one as a targeted one. So we're going to specifically pick Amazon Prime members, right? And I don't know if we have this trait. We have 90 plus traits, right? So I can go down and I can say skin concerns, right? So I can say, sun damage, age spots. It really gets granular. We don't have anything for like sun, but you can pick like if it's like a female avatar. So all Amazon Prime members that are female, right? Or all Amazon Prime members that are female and have an income of 75 to 150K. The reason why you'd want to also look at income, whether you're targeting it out like this or just reviewing it on the back end after the polls ran, is because if you're a premium priced item, you might get a lot of people that are 0 to 35K household income. I'd say, oh, I love it. And that's great, but that's not actionable data because they're never really realistically going to buy the product. So that's when the targeting comes really important over here. But we won't do the income because I'll show you how you look at it on the back end. And then we're off to the races. So I'm going to preview and pay. Please don't get jealous of all the PickFu credits that I have here. I work at PickFu, so I'm allowed to have the God mode PickFu access, right? So now you're going to see how quickly it's going to run. So again, this is just an example, but typically you would really not want to ever have a monster brand name in this comparison because people will always knee jerk go with. I did this the other day for someone for detergent, like dish detergent, and it was them, a direct competitor, another direct competitor, and it was like Dawn. And a lot of people just went with Dawn. So that's the thing. You want to omit and redact anyone that's like a brand name, even though you might think like, oh, I compete with them. You really don't, right? You really compete with people that are more apples to apples with you. So let's go here. So we have no aid sun care, no ad, no ad. I'm going to pick the individual bottle and I'm going to show you why we can do the 2-pack better. So when I look at this over here, right, I'm seeing nothing about what the product looks like, which is not good. Is it white? Is it cream colored? Is it orange? Is it clear? Like people want to know anything they're ingesting or putting on their face or their skin, you have to give monster transparency to it. So here, now we know all the way down here that it's white, but I shouldn't have to come all the way down here to understand that. But this is good because of what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go and I'm going to grab this over here, right? And I'm going to go into one of my favorite tools, which is Canva. Drop a a laughing face. I can't even think of emojis if you're big fans of Canva like me. So what I'm doing is I'm going to drop it in here. This image right here is a 2000 by 2000. That's the size you'd want to have for your hero and images in the image stack. But you could see, let me go back a second. So you can see there's a lot of spacing around this, which is okay, but we're going to be doing some cool stuff. So I want to just bring in that gap just a little bit like this. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit background remover. Now I'm going to show you why that's important. So I'll just undo. If I change the background color to this, you can see there's a background over there. So if I want to add any elements or anything like that, this white will still show. But now if I hit one click background remover and then change this background color again, background's totally gone. So that's an easy way to remove a background in Canva. And it's not like you're drawing around it or anything like that. So now let's make this bigger. And we want to do a couple different things. Cool. So when we go back to the SERP, right, we saw all these little things. We saw the smear, we saw the box, we saw any other kind of call outs that we have. In the deodorant, we saw the banners and stuff like that. So I'm going to show you guys how we can do that in Canva. You don't need a designer. Designers are great, but if you want to make quick iterations, quick changes to your hero images, you could do it very easily in Canva. So I'm going to go over here to elements and I'm going to type in smear, something as crazy as smear. Now you don't want to go to graphics because then it's like a stylized version of a smear. You want to go to photos. And then here's where you're going to see all these kind of creamy smears. So let's say, for example, I see a lot of good ones over here. So there's this one, there's this one, there's this one. You don't want to use this one because it has a background on it. Even though you can remove the background, a lot of times it'll get tinted and it's not good. So always look for ones that have no backgrounds on them. Now, even ones that are like this. So we have 3 good ones right now that we can play with. But if you find one that's like a color, Canva's really good with this too, is you see how I'm selected on this purple smear right now? And the color is right up here. You can edit this. And I'm going to show you how you can do this in a really cool way for product iterations. So I can edit this purple. So if I come over here, I click white, it's going to be a little bit of a gray. But if I go over here and hit white, it's still going to be a little bit gray. So you can then play with the tone of it a little bit more. But again, don't try not to if you don't have to, because then you can do all these kind of things. But if you can get the white one by itself, oh, that's better. So now what I want to do is I'm going to duplicate this 3 times, right? So I'm going to get rid of this one over here and this one over here because I want to keep this one here. And then I'm going to get this one and this one out. And on this one, oh, I messed up on that. So I have the crazy smear and then I have this one, right? So let's do this. So I have this kind of smear, I have this kind of smear, and then I have this kind of smear. So now what I want to do is I want to take it, position it the way that I want it, maybe make it a little bit bigger or anything like that. And then you're going to go position backwards. That's it, right? Position backwards. So now here, I'm going to make this larger, right? Because you want to take up room on that hero image, no dead pixels. Position backwards. Same thing with this one, make it a little bit larger and then position backwards, right? So now what do we have? This is where you want to test incremental. So you don't want to just go for the whammy and put everything in one image and then run the PickFu on it, because then you're never going to know what's going to work. You want to test pieces at a time. So in theory, what I'd want to do at this point is then grab all of these images, right? And I don't want to run too many PickFus because then it's going to be all about PickFu and you won't see the actionable stuff. But I'll run this PickFu to show you how you test in the different iterations of it here. So I'm going to save all of those images that I made. I'm going to go back to PickFu, and this is running right here. We already got 9. We're more than halfway done already. So we're not going to look at this just yet, but that's how quick PickFu is. I'm going to open up a new poll. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to grab my zip file. That's not my zip file. Neither is that. Neither is that. What are we doing, computer? So I have my zip file here. Now I'm going to grab these 3. Best little app in the world. Just shake it over there like that. So I have these 3 over here. Now you'll notice it's a head-to-head, but if I drag in 3 of them, automatically go into ranked. So it's going to load those 3 different. So now what we're testing here is we're testing which smear do they like the most before we start adding other elements. So if you're shopping on Amazon for sunscreen, which image compels, I'm doing it again. I always like to say and why. The interesting thing too, PickFu added a new feature here to kind of enhance or enrich your question. So even if you're not like confident with your question, you can just hit this little button right here and it's going to give you a better version of what your question is. So which sunscreen product image on Amazon would you likely click on first and what elements made you influence? Yeah, I like that better. So we're going to take that. So now we have these over here. We're going to do the same targeting we did before. So 15 US female and Prime members. And you're going to run. See, $20. Some of you might look at this and say, $20, that's a lot to run on just one element. It's not, because at the end of the day, what is a lot is running with the wrong one that you didn't test, and how much more painful is that than $20? So that's what I always kind of say to that. So coming back over here to Canva, now we have this, right? So depending on which one's going to be the winner, that's the one you'd want to go with. Now we have the smear. We could do a couple of other different things. So let's say, for example, we wanted to do something like the deodorants, right? So let me show you that cool hack too. So really easily, if you want to replicate the deodorant style that a lot of people, I say deodorant style, it's not deodorant style, that banner style that a lot of deodorant companies and other companies are doing as well is deodorant. This right here. So you might look at this and be like, wow, that's really cool. Like that looks three-dimensional and I can't render that kind of stuff. I got you. You don't need to worry about that kind of stuff. That's literally three shapes. So the way we're going to do this is come back to Canva. Let's say, for example, that you don't want to block it, any information over here, but if there's no information or if it's information that really doesn't matter too much, you can do it, right? So I'm going to hit R on my keyboard for a rectangle, and then I'm just going to bring out a little banner, right? It's just a shape. That's all it really is. So again, you don't want to do it where it's going to block anything, but I know you're looking at this right now and you're like, oh, this is gray. This is not the color. Don't worry. Don't worry. So let's put it here for all intents and purposes. Now we're going to make it where it's just hanging over a little bit. Now we want to go and change the color of this to be on brand for our brand color. So whether, and by the way, I move fast in Canva sometimes. When you're clicking on the element, you go here to click on color, then you click on this little wheel, add new color, color dropper or color picker. Now I can go throughout the whole thing. And let's say if I want to do blue, well, it'll change it to blue. Or if I click on the dropper again, if I want to pull this gold over here, right? But I kind of like the blue, so I'll do that. So now I have a blue shape right here, but that's not exactly good because if you just run with it like this and then put the value prop on it, it's most likely going to get suppressed, image suppressed on Amazon. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And now what I'm doing is I'm taking this current one that we have, duplicating it, making it a little bit shorter and a little bit more narrow. And then that same color picker, right? I'm going to go to the existing vivid blue, they call it, and I'm going to click on that and I'm just going to bring it down. Just going to bring it down a little bit, not a different color, just a darker version of that color. Because then what I'm going to do is, and I try to zoom in as much as I can, then I'm going to take this shape, I'm going to turn it so slightly like this, and then I'm going to position the corner to the corner right here, right? So sometimes you got to really like zoom in on this thing. And the reason is, again, you're watching this like, that looks insane, John. It's all perspective. So I'm going to hit position, backwards, backwards. Crazy? Crazy? Here we go. Okay, so you could see what we're doing there with that. So now Canva has layers in here as well. So I can then go to this layer that's back there, duplicate it, bring it back to this side, do that. See, you want to make sure that you turn it because if you just send it to the back, it's going to look crazy like that. So you have to make sure that it's turned in that orientation, right? So here, 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 here. And you might have to play with it a little bit and stuff like that. There's no specific scientific thing to it. But when you get it, it's always the second one that's the problem. So then arrange backwards, backwards, right? So now you could see that that's too much this way. So all I'm going to do is turn it like this, bring this down like this, and that's that. That's crazy, right? So literally, like I told you guys, three shapes and two different colors gives you the appearance. I almost said appeal. I said appearance, appeal and appearance of a wrap. Cool. So what will we do on that wrap, right? What we want to do is then duplicate this because now let's say this was the winning smear, right? I'm moving forward as if I'm already knowing what it is. So let's say this was the winning smear. Well, now I want to test another element. So I'm going to test a banner, but I'm going to test the messaging on the banner. So if I go back to the listing over here, I want to pull out a value prop from this listing that's not shown on here. So it says 50 sport sunscreen lotion, water resistant 80 minutes. That's actually pretty good, right? That's something that's a lot smaller. That's not, especially for a sport product, that's not really shown in the title as well. So that might be a value prop here, or hypoallergenic, super value size. That's all relative because depending on what everyone else in the space is. So actually, no, 16 ounces is a pretty big size when everyone else is kind of smaller. So that's something that we may also want to test as well to see if people value that, right? So I'm going to go with two different versions. I'm going to go with one that says um, water resistant 80 minutes and one that says super value size, especially since I'm covering it with this one right here. So let's say waterproof 80, water resistant, 80 minutes, right? So that's what I want to affect over here. So I'm going to go to Canva again, go to elements. Now I'm going to switch to graphics and I'm going to do time circle. It sounds cryptic when I talk like this, but the goal is that we want to bring out a graphic that shows something about time and speed. Or you could even do 80 minutes. Sometimes Canva has this kind of stuff, right? So you'll see this is what I was looking for. So they don't have an 80-minute one, but they do have like 5 minutes, 30, 30 minutes. So what you can do is take from this and just edit it, right? So let me do this one. So I now have a much clearer, and this is in black, we're gonna make this white. So now by doing this, I'm able to make it much more clear that it's gonna be 80 minutes. I don't wanna spend time editing this. You can edit this, but just pretend for argument's sake, this said 80. The way you would do this to mitigate that it shows 30 and not 80 is you would simply just overlay on top of it to say an 8 instead of a 30, a 3 rather, right? So for the sake of time, we don't want to do that. But now we're going to go over here and we're going to do some text over here and we're going to say water resistant. Can't type today. I don't know if it's resistant or resist. Here we go. Let's say resistant. That's not how you say it. Okay. So now I don't want to just put this here and like that. Like that's better, but it's not good, right? So with text, it's all about size and orientation, right? So over here, yes, if I made it bigger, is that better than smaller? 100%. But you want to make sure that it reads well. So how does it read well? Well, usually with a left align or right align, it's easier to read. And usually when you reduce the spacing between the letters, which you can easily do in Canva right here, then it makes it easier to read. Because also when you reduce the line spacing, then you have more room to make it even larger, right? So this is where I would go with this kind of thing, maybe not that big, right? Water resistant, right? And then you could see how it changes the whole entire dynamic of the product. So if I go over here and just duplicate this, just for argument's sake to remove this, now if I bring it back over here to the front of what was originally the product, night and day difference, right? Still not where we want it to be, but night and day difference. So what do I want to accent more, water or the resistant? Probably resistant, right? Because water is what it is. I'm going to bold it. And then now you could see how when you do font size, bolding, unbolding, mixing between regular weight and bold weight, and the spacing just starts to make everything come together. So again, with this, now we have a time. And again, remember, just pretend that says 80 minutes. We have a time. Actually, some people are going to say, John, easier said than done. I'll show you. So what I would do to fix this, right? Everything is layers. So I would do a C, whoops, not that one. I would go over here and I would type C for circle. And now I have a circle in the exact same color of the banner on the bottom. So I'm going to drag that over here. I'm going to lay it on top of this and I'm going to cover that. So it's almost like that never happened. Now, what I want to do to make sure that when I move things and shift things and stuff like that, I want to click on this. I want to hold shift and then click on the original element and then group it. So now whenever I move this, it's all going to be moving as one, as if that 30 was never there. So now I would come over here, clone my existing font that I have and just type in 80. And then one thing is you want to do is bring in these kind of weird bars to make sure that it's fitting like this. And you can see it's a little too spaced out. So spacing over here and letter spacing brings that in closer together. And then if I shrink this down like this, now I just showed you how you can take an existing Canva icon and customize it for yourself. So you could always customize these things. You don't have to just take them for face value. Again, I might want to bold that to make it more in your face that it's 80 minutes. So I'm no slouch. I'm not getting lazy on you guys. So now that 80, I want that part of that group as well. So the same thing, click on the 80, shift, click on the group, and I'm gonna group the whole thing. So now everything, so literally like this isn't a 6-week Adobe course. This is just knowing what to do and how to do it, right? So now we're showing 80-minute water resistant. So you could see how this is going to start to come together. So between this and this is already light years better. Let's check in on the PICFU real quickly. So cool. Check this out. I'm shocked. I'm actually shocked that this brand must be a brand that I've never heard of. It's getting a lot of clicks. So when I look at this, right now I'm seeing where they're clicking and why they're clicking. And now you can see over here, if I go and I highlight this, there's 7 clicks on this one, 3 clicks on this one, 5 clicks. Now, really wasn't too fair. I just wanted to show you guys how PICFU can be used because with this one, it's a 2-pack. And I'm willing to bet, I've done this for a long enough time, that it's either they like the brand or they like the price because it's a 2-pack. So what I can do is I can highlight this. And by the way, you can see how where they're clicking. They're clicking on the fluid ounce. They're clicking on the bottle. These people are clicking on the smear. They're clicking on the bottle. They're clicking on the title. That's super important, right? Because we want to know why they're clicking there. So with this, if I highlight this and then bring this and come down, this one looks a little bit more premium. Sunscreen is the least expensive per ounce, right? All seem super expensive, but I know this one's going to last me like a year or two. So it wasn't a good example because it's a 2-pack and the value is there. But I just wanted to show you guys how that works. But like, let's take a look at this. Like, why did they click on this? Higher quality. They like the vitamin E. I like the vitamins. So they really resonated with the vitamins. Now, that's not telling you the whole story. When I go back and I look at the demographics, yes, it's all female because we said that. We could see race, ethnicity, education level, but here's the two ones. The two that are the ones that I like to look at is age range and household income. So you can see over here that more of the 35 to 44-year-olds participated in this, but then also there was a good amount of 75 to 150K. So that's when I would go to the responses. And when I'm looking at where they're clicking, if you hover over it, right? So let's go over here. Let's click on this. Now, when I look at the responses, I can see that's a 25 to 34-year-old, 150K plus income female. When I hover over this one, it's going to say 75 to 150K, 65 plus. This is super important when you're reading the data because if 65 plus is your avatar, we want to listen to them. If it's, and then if you're getting feedback that says, I hate this, it's no good, but it's 25 to 34-year-olds, well, that's okay because that's not the avatar. So you don't want to just build an action upon the data and demographics for people that aren't in your jam. So you can see this one's already done too. Holy smokes. Did I call it, Ashley, or did I call it? Did I pick the winning one? I think I picked the winning one. Oh, no, I didn't. Oh, man, I was so close. I got the second place one. But you could see here when you're testing this, people prefer this instead of this. This was last place, this was second, and this was the first place. I'm willing to bet it's because the smear was trailing off at the end and it didn't look as smooth. But I don't have to think. I could just go down here and look. So everyone that picked choice A as the first one is listed right here, and then B, and then so on. So they picked B. They picked B because it looks more satisfying in B. The single smear behind it, creamy texture is more visible. I base my choice. It looks identical at first glance, but even it's pretty. I base my choice on the smear of the sunscreen shown, but even then, it's pretty subtle and not necessarily going to change real opinion. Doesn't matter. This is all psychology that we want to know. It looks more natural, more clean, more smooth. So that was the thing, right? They didn't like the streakiness of this; they liked the smoothness of it. So that would be the one that you would then want to go ahead and start to build on top of, right? So going over here, and I know we're going to wrap up in a little bit, but I think this stuff is really, really important, right? And then this is where you would test the differences between the two. So I showed you guys how you can do this and build these call outs. One thing, if you're selling something that's a consumable, right? So if it's a supplement, a snack or food or drink, right? And it's made in the US, it might be important for sunscreen or it might not. I don't know. But inside Canva, anytime something's made in the US, it's a value prop right out of the gate. You can take a look in like Jungle Scout, Smart Scout, Data Dive, any of those tools, and you'll see that made in the USA or made in America is a big search term. So you always want to be able to then test it with this inside of it, right? So whether that be over here, whether it be over here, testing the different positionings, and then seeing if that's relevant for people in your market, in your ICP, right? For me, I don't think I want to put it over here. I'd probably put it like somewhere right there. One cool trick too is when you're doing these elements, even these over here, you don't want to just place them. Like you'll see a lot of times people just place them. What you want to do is go over here, click on transparency, and just knock it down to like 90%, right? Because then it doesn't look as sharp and as crisp. And it helps with going through like Amazon's bots, but it also helps it look a little bit more realistic. The other thing that you can do as well is taking a wrinkle, and sometimes I can find it, sometimes I can't. Actually, I found it on the first click. So you could take a wrinkle, right? And you can put this on top of this right here to make it look more realistic. Again, we're not trying to trick people. In a way, you're just trying to trick Amazon. Sometimes these, like I said before, might get image suppressed. So we want to take this as a layer and bring this to the tippy top because now you could see when I do it like this, that looks like a real label. Again, it's a little bit too wrinkly for me, but that's when you can double click on it and kind of move it around like this and get the proper positioning like that, because now that looks super realistic. That's a even down here, the font is wrinkling on top with it. So it just looks very, very hyper realistic. And that's always something that you want to have. And then over here for this one, you can lean into like the SPF or the SPF number, so SPF 50 or some other value prop that you have, and test that out as well. So running out of time, I could talk about this for hours. I don't even know what the chat's looking like right now. I don't even want to go in there. They're probably like, this is too much. We're not a fan. No, I'm just kidding. But the other thing that you can do that I want to show you guys is in Figma, which is another tool, very similar to Canva, but a little bit more on the pro level. I don't build out things in Figma, but what I do love is inside Figma, you can do plugins which are mockups. So now imagine if we have a box next to our bottle with all the edits on it, right? And a lot of the times I go with this one. This is a really good one to use, and you probably see it a lot in a lot of hero images. Because with this, what happens is Figma gives you the front design and the side design. And this is giving you that three-dimensional thing. So now if I was to try and do this in Canva, right? And I'll just take a screenshot of this to show you. If I was trying to do this in Canva, it would not work out because what's going to happen is I can take this, I can remove the background, but what I'm not able to do in Canva is put text that's on an angle. I could just put text on top of it, right? But it's never going to read like it's actually on the packaging over here. So what you want to do is go into Figma. There's specs down here. So 446 by 1000, 222 by 1000. You're going to go into Canva and replicate that. So that was 446 by 1000. So 446, still can't type this guy, by 1000. Okay. So now this is where you're designing your label. So for the sake of time and speed, I'm going to go over here and just grab their bottle again, just because I don't know. So what I'm going to do now is just really, you wouldn't want to do this. You'd really want to design the actual label itself. But what I'm doing is just doing this right here, just for the sake of time. So now what you can do is bring this in here like this, right? So now technically it's a really bad version of a label, but this is a label. And I'm going to save this in my desktop, right? So save, download. Ashley knows whenever I'm doing these kind of tests, I just when the file name comes up, I just bang on my keyboard like this because. And the funny thing is, we were doing this the other day, and I banged on the keyboard, random keys, and it was like, sorry, that's already in a save file. I was like, that's crazy. So going back into Figma, right, and then taking my saved little label that I made in Canva, I'm going to snap it into place over here. Click on this, bring back up Artboard Mockups, which is a plugin inside of here. I'm hit render. And you're going to see this go directly on that, just like that, like a real box. Now, I don't want to redo the whole thing. Maybe I want the side of my box plain. So then I'm going to go over here inside the side design. I'm going to click on the fill tool, grab the eyedropper, just grab the orange that's of the box, right? It's going to be a different color orange, but that's okay. And then I'm going to go back to Artboard Mockups, have it selected, hit render, bam. Go right here, move my silly goose head out of the way, export this. I'm going to call it blah, 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 blah. I'm shocked if that was taken. Then I'm going to bring, that's why Canva and Figma together are like a superpower. Because then I'm going to go over here, bring in my box rendering just like this, with shadows and all, right? Now I'm able to then make this larger, take up more space on the image. And then actually, let me do, you wouldn't want to do this with a smear. Well, actually, you could do this with a smear, and I'll show you this really quickly. This will be the last thing because I know we're running out of time. But let's do this. Let's keep it as the smear, and let's bring the box into the smear so I can show you how you can bring all those elements together. So we're going to send this to the back. We're going to take the smear, and we're going to reposition it. Maybe chop off the smeary parts like this. And then we're going to move this kind of stuff over. I'm going to mess up the whole thing when I do this right now, so forgive me. Move this over, right? But you can see as we start to do this, now I've showed you really easily how you can render packaging, optimize your hero image, test it, and really, really in under 50 bucks, doing it yourself keeps you in play with all of the other big players in the space. Right. So anyone out there, if you don't have packaging, if you don't have these call outs and you don't have these smears, anything like that, you don't have to worry. You can do this yourself. Again, I'll just supplements is like the most crowded space in the world. But over here, you'll see monsters in the space just doing this, but then you'll see box, bottle, product, right? And then you scroll down some more, box, bottle, product, box, bottle, physician's choice. It's like $1 million listing, box, bottle, right? Again, the argument can be made, well, John, what if it doesn't come with the box? These are utilitarian products. I know lots of these brands, and I'm not going to say them, that they don't ship in a box, but they show it and they still have 4.8 stars, hundreds of thousands of units sold every single month. So that's the thing. This kind of stuff you can do yourself. And again, I just made the side plain, but since it's angled, I could put any value prop that I want on the side over here. If it's made in America, if it's the size, the 16 ounces, or anything like that. So take up as much room as you can on that search engine result page so you can win the click, win the sale, cash in, send your friend John some pizza. I don't know, stuff like that. Now I'm seeing the comments. I don't know what's going on. Ashley, how did I do? Was that? Did we get some comments going over here? Let's see.
Fantastic. I have some follow-up questions if you have time and would like to take them, or you can follow up with them
Totally.
in email. Okay. So first, does modifying the product packaging impact the customer's expectations when they actually receive it?
Yeah, so that's a good question. If it's a giftable item, I said earlier on, you don't want to do that. If it's a utilitarian item or consumable or anything like that, think of the last time that you bought something from Amazon and you're like, great, it's here, yank, and you just rip it out of the box and use it. So as long as it's not a giftable item, you're in the clear. Again, I'm not an attorney, I just play one on TV, but I understand risk versus reward, right? So what are the risks? The risks are Amazon might suppress the image if it's not done well enough. That's an easy fix. But the reward is if it goes through, you're going to higher CTR, which is going to lead to more sales. I will say if your conversion rate stays the same, but your CTR increases, you make more money. It's just basic math. So forget about your conversion for a second. If your conversion rate stays the same percent that it's doing right now, but all you do is getting more clicks on it, you make more money. So in things that are utilitarian, consumables, supplements, basic items, like actually try and think about if you had ever ordered super glue or tape or anything like that. Did you really care what the packaging came in? No, it doesn't
Mhm.
matter.
And then the next question, my niche is sunglasses. How can I add a call out?
So wood sunglasses. So cool. That's I know we're running close to time, but I will share my screen really quickly. So if we're talking about sunglasses and wood sunglasses, so here, let's do this. Wood sunglasses. Some spaces are very strict. Things like shoes, very, very hard to do anything with. So you always want to go and take a look at your search engine result page for your search term and see what everyone else is doing. So I can see right off the bat in sunglasses, it's going to be very hard to do post edits like this because there's no one else that's doing it in the space, which leads me to believe that if you were to do it, it would be problematic. Now, that's not to say I wouldn't try to do it. What I would do is, are you including any sort of case with it, right? So you can see over here, they have a case over here. And then you could put value props on the case. And that would in turn get to where you need to be. Or what I would do, which I don't see anyone doing it in the space right now, which is shocking, um, is I would take a page out of what LED monitors do, right? So LED monitors, what they do, they merchandise really well because they will go and they will put all the specs on the screen itself. 27-inch, 120 hertz, flicker-free monitor. Like, is Acer getting bad reviews? But hey, I bought my Acer monitor and it doesn't say 27 inches on the screen with 120 hertz. I want to return it. No, because people are realistic and look at this one, 24 inches. They're merchandising on-screen real estate. So what I would say to that, if I was in the sunglasses space, you don't have a screen, right? But there's nothing to say that you couldn't, again, I haven't really dove deep into the sunglass space, but there's nothing to say that you couldn't come here, right? And then put a value prop on the lens right here, depending on what the value prop is. So if you're UV or polarized, right? So I would try this. So if it's polarized and I can't figure out, like, I'm sure there's an icon for like polarized or anything like that. But let's just say, for example, this is like the universal symbol for polarized, right? I would do something like this, go over here, and I would say polarized right here because no one is ever going to think, right? Oh, I'm going to buy these glasses and it's going to have an icon right in the middle of it, right? Or anything like that. So use the space you have because if you put it outside here, 1,000% going to get image suppressed. But if you figure out, especially if you have like a front facing shot or if you have different angles, because I saw on the SERP, they were doing different angles as well on some listings. So like if you have a dead on angle, which most folks don't want to do because they want to show the side of it. But if you do like perfect, like this one, like it's very, very like a big lens. Look at this right here. So they're doing this, they have this sticker right here. That sticker's already on it, right? So, but you can't read anything on it. So what I would do is I would edit that sticker to say my value prop because then people understand that it's a sticker. So that brings me into another good point too, where let's say there was no sticker there, right? Well, in Canva, you can make a sticker, right? And you can make it look realistic. That's actually what I would do. Now that I realize what I want to do after pontificating for 15 seconds, I would go over here and let's say this was my brand. In Canva, you can go here and you can grab stickers and you can sticker rectangle and see this right here. See in photos, see you have this. So I can go over here and I can say this and I can color this whatever I want. So I can come over here and I can change the color for this. But now it's super clear that this is a sticker. So no one's ever going to think like, oh my God, is there going to be a logo on my lenses? Since I saw that other one that has a sticker, now you can come over here and say everything you want to say, all the value props on it, and people understand it's a sticker. Does it look as appealing as without a sticker? No, of course not. Like without a sticker, it's going to look better. But the idea with Amazon is we're selling. So we want to sell. If there's a strong value prop, if it's polarized or anything like that, you can run the gamut on so many different stickers like this, right? So it's literally limitless, and they have all of these wrinkles to make them look super realistic.
Awesome. We have a follow-up question, but you with lawnmower blade niche if you have time,
Yeah.
and then we wrap it up.
I've never heard of a lawn mower blade niche, but let's see. So lawn mower blade. So this falls into one of those that's utilitarian, right? So no one's going to care what the box comes in with this. So in my eyes, right, the SERP is naked. Like I wouldn't know if this is what size this is. It's very small. If this is a 3-pack, if this is whatever. So if I was in this space, I would do something like this, right? So let's say this is the one. I would go and say, first off, do you have packaging? And if you have good packaging, because sometimes people have good packaging and they don't show it. So if you have good packaging, I would show the good packaging. But if you don't have good packaging, if it's just a brown box, what you'd want to do is just make it, right? So fake it till you make it. So we want to take it like this, make it as big as possible, right? Something like that. Remove the background. And then you want to go to Canva in photos. You want to just do brown box. And then you want to get something that's realistic for the size. Like, I don't think you'd want to do something like this per se, right? And you want to have something that has a white background anyway. But be careful with the angles because then you'd have to go back into Figma to make it make sense. So if you're going strictly in Canva, keep it with a dead on angle so that this way you can say, now I can merchandise directly on this box, whatever I want. So I can say, you know, lawn mower blade replacement, right? And again, the same tactics we talked about last time about positioning of like fonts and weights and sizes, right? You want to do that, right? So blade replacement probably be the one that I would bold right here and then just make it bigger, right? And then what you're doing, right? And then let's say this was a 22-inch. Go back to graphics, not photos, just type in 22, right? And then you just put maybe inches, add inches on top of this, not just put the word 22. And then I would take the item that's all the way in the back, and I would bring it right to the front like that. So you play around with the placement. So you can see it blocks it a little bit. So maybe you want to move lawnmower blade replacement up a little bit more, but that's how you do it in something like that. And then if you have a 3-pack, a 2-pack, then you want to do the call outs for that. And then same idea here. You could even do wraps on top of existing things, right? So now if you have a box over here and you don't want to keep it looking just like plain brown, let's say your brand color is, I don't know, red, for example, right? So move that backwards, right? And then maybe drill down the transparency just a little bit and then put any value prop on top of there. Well, then now you have something like that. And again, like my grandfather, because I have a lawnmower, if it breaks, I just throw it out because I don't know how to fix this stuff. But like guys that know how to fix this kind of stuff and they're doing this in their house and homes, they don't care. They just want to get it. So whatever you can do to get them to gravitate towards yours in a sea of everything that looks the same is going to help you 100%. Yeah, you should try it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, John. This has been lovely. We will follow up with the recording and the tools that you're going to provide. And that's it for today.
Awesome. Guys, go out there and fix your images and make more money.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.